friends, I'm Courtney and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already watched it, I suggest watching my reading vlog for March, which was The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So in this video, you would see me reading the book and then stopping every once in a while to give feedback and my reflections and thoughts as I go through the entire novel, and then a wrap up at the end. Also, feel free to follow me on my Twitter, Bookstagram, and Facebook accounts, which are listed below in the description, where I post a lot more bookish content on a regular basis rather than just once or twice a week here on YouTube. So today we are going over my April TBR or to be read pile. So I am super excited for this month, not just being spring, but we're kicking off the Read Like a Gilmore challenge. So a lot of the books in my list will be reflective of that. And it's just nice out. I know I'm filming this inside, but my window is open. You probably hear the birds, and I will probably be reading a lot outside. And I'm so excited about it, especially with the books that I have planned here. First book we have is Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. So this is the first I will read in my Read Like a Gilmore reading challenge, and this is a book about friendship. And the quote was from Suki when she was advising Lorelai on like, hey, it's my right as a best friend to encourage you to do all the things that you want to do. So yeah, this is one that has been adapted to Netflix. So I'm hoping to read this before I watched the TV show, but also because it's a library book, I need to return it by I think April 19th. So this will be one I will probably need to read through pretty quickly. And it is a pretty thick book, but I've heard nothing but great things about the book itself and the series on Netflix, so can't wait for that. Then we have Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and this is also going to be adapted not until the end of April on Netflix, but this is also a library book and one I need to get back to the library pretty soon, and this will be one I will be reading in the beginning of the month. So usually I don't pick books like in the order that I want to read them. I know like, okay, these are the 5 or 6 books I want to read in this month, and then I kind of do a mood reading based off those. But because these are due at the library and I want other people to enjoy them as well, I can't hoard them forever, so definitely want to read that. But anyway, this will satisfy my book about revenge for Read Like a Gilmore, and this is the quote is from Paris when she talks about narrowing her list of people that she wants to get back to from 26 to 5. So yeah, this I don't know too much about. I know it's a book series as well. I think it's a trilogy, not sure, but I've been reading a lot of young adult like fantasy novels lately, and this one will satisfy that as well. From what I could tell, and this does have to do with what I saw with the trailer, just so I can get a sense of like, do I want to read this book or not? It is about this young lady or young girl who kind of discovers that she has this like inner energy or something that could like ward off people that have hurt them in the past, or like beings that have hurt them, their community in the past. So yeah, I don't know, the front kind of looks like a Patronus, which I know terrible to associate that, but I just can't help it. It looks like a doe or a deer of some sort. Maybe that'll come into play. I hope so. I hope it's not completely random on the front of the cover, but yeah, we'll see what that looks like. Then we have The First 10 Years, Two Sides of the Same Love Story by Bashwiner and Joseph Fink. And this was sent to me by Harper Perennial as an advanced review copy. And this will be out, I believe, in May 11th. So look out for that. But this, it's not going to be satisfying anything for Read Like a Gilmore. It just looked like a fun book to read. And like, it's so fun with the little squirrels and a little boat on it too. But this goes over the two authors like going back and forth with their story of like how they met over the course of the 10 years and like what their relationship was like in their different perspectives. So I think that's gonna be super interesting. I love like that kind of style of like the same event happened, but you get different perspectives from it. So for example, not having to do with the book or the plot, I hope, but when I was in college, I got asked to do like this psychology study where like there was like 5 or 6 of us, and we were each brought into a room and we watched like this reenacted crime take place on like video, and that was like supposed to be our perspective when we were going into like this trial and being like a witness or something. And then we were asked like individually like, oh, can you tell us these details, whatever. And it was so interesting because all of us had something different to say based off our like point of view or like our own like personality or like things we observe and notice. So I thought that was like fascinating, and I don't know, it just I love like court and like law stories and movies and everything, but it's just so interesting to see like what we think we know, what we think we see, and what actually is the truth. And that's hard to tell by any human, I guess. Like, and they're so hard to be objective when like human emotions are involved. So I think that'll be interesting. Again, hopefully there's nothing to do with crime in this novel, but who knows. But anyway, about two people falling in love and understanding their kind of interactions a little bit differently, or maybe the same. Then we have the Notorious RBG, The Life and Times of Ruth Bader Ginsburg by Irin, Carmon, and Shana Knizhnik. And this was one that is going to satisfy a nonfiction book. So it was also a Paris Geller quote where she talks about wanting to read a biography of herself like years from now, not wanting to puke. So I hope RBG is proud of all the books that have been written about her and celebrating who she was as a Supreme Court justice. So this one I think is fun. It has like a lot of like photos and like timelines and things like that of her life. And I found her, I know it most recently because she has passed away, like her legacy and everything that she's brought to like women in government or like women in general is being brought out to the forefront. But I want to learn a little bit more about like her upbringing and like how she became who she was. So I think that would be good. This was one that was gifted to me by my friend Hannah during my birthday in November. So each of my girlfriends bought me a book based off my wish list and then off their personality and things they believe in and have really strong values for. So Hannah, thank you so much. I'm excited to read through this. And I just like it too, that it's a different type of book, or it's a different format than the ones already in my list. Then we have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. So this is a series as well. I think it's a trilogy, not sure. Yep, not sure. I know there's more than one, but this is satisfying for Read Like a Gilmore, the book about magic. So I'm hoping because it has the word magic in it that it will have to do with that, but who knows. So this was a quote where Rory tells Jess, like, if you ever want to be friends with me again, don't pull that out of my ear, because Jess tends to do a lot of like corny magic tricks to try to like impress her or just like change the subject and everything. So yeah, this I think should be good. I think this is a young adult novel as well, set in London, which love when that happens. And I think it's cool too because I think the different circles here are like the map. I'm not really sure. It reminds me of it a little bit, but we'll figure that out as we dive into it. The last print book we have is the Transatlantic Book Club by Felicity Hayes-McCoy, and this will satisfy for Read Like a Gilmore, a book about books. And this is the one where Rory talks about carrying a book everywhere she goes when she's talking to Dean in Miss Patty's studio after the dance at Chilton. So this I thought would be fun, like light read, where we learn about like Irish heritage and the generations that are still in Ireland and in, I think, northern the United States or Canada or somewhere in North America, and them trying to communicate and build those relationships up again with like family in both sides of the pond, I guess. So that I think could be pretty cool. But yeah, this has been on my list for a long time, has been on my TBR for quite a while. This was also sent to me from Harper Perennial. I don't know when it was published. I probably should have had a review done for this by now, but it will be done. So in addition to those print books, I have a few audiobooks I would like to read as well. So I put the covers in this general area. So first is The Elite by Kiera. So this is the second novel in the Selection series. So don't want to spoil it, but where we left off in the first book was the main characters were put into this competition to marry the prince, and I joked that it's kind of like Hunger Games meets The Bachelor in a way, but I guess a little bit more somber, or I don't know, like it feels more real and not as staged, even though there are times where you have to have like the face on, like when you're talking to the audience or the rest of the girls or whatever, but there's a lot of honesty and truth in there. So yeah, obviously something happens, and if there is a second one that I'm reading, something has to have happened, or like some characters have to have progressed into the next book. So I'm excited. It was very fast paced. I listened to the first book, The Selection, on audio as well, so we will see as we continue with that. The next is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and this has been on my list for a while. I've seen this all over Bookstagram. I know there was just an announcement that there is going to be an adaptation of that series as well, and it's interesting. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews, and I'm curious to know why. Some people are nervous that it's not going to be good adaptation at all. Some people are confused as to why that was the series and not A Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas that was adapted. So that just intrigues me even further to see what the conflict is, or like what people are getting so worked up, either like in a negative way or like excited kind of way. So I'll at least read the first one, and that, like I said, has been on my audiobook queue for a while, and I keep like delaying it because there's other books I'm going to read first. And I'm nervous because I don't know, there's some books that you know you want to read in print. And this one I feel like I want to, but I just have so many other books I want to read, and I want to know what the hype is all about, that I'm going to start it at least on audio. And then if the audio is not working for me, or the narrator's not really jiving with me, then I'll pause and get the print book at some point. So no rush on that exactly, but it's just been sitting in my queue forever. Then the last book is Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. And this has been on my list for a while. So my dad had given me or loaned me the DVD for the film adaptation years ago, and I like never watched it. I felt so bad, but I'm like, I don't know, like it just didn't intrigue me. But like I had many years later, like after I returned it back to him and he asked like, oh, what'd you think? I'm like, oh, I didn't watch it, sorry. I want to dive back into it, especially now since I've been reading a lot more about Asian culture and Asian heritage. And even before a lot of the hate crimes and things that have been happening to Asian Americans in our country, like I've grown to want to read more about Asian Americans' history. Like I loved Pachinko, I loved the Poppy War, and I was honest saying that I didn't know too much or wasn't intentionally initially choosing books with Asian characters or Asian authors. So now I want to be more intentional for sure. But yeah, like I mentioned, that was also one on my queue for a very long time, because it just like spurred like I want to experience this in text first before I watch the film. Like I do my best with that with a lot of adaptations, as if I can help it. Or sometimes I didn't even know as I'm watching something, I'm like, oh, that was a book, and then I go back and read it. But for most parts I try to read it and then watch whatever it is. So yeah, that will be one of my audiobooks, and I'm excited. I think it dives into a lot of the culture and more of an understanding, I'm hoping, and just allows me to do like my own research. Like even after I've read some of the other books during my Read Around the World challenge, I have like dug deeper into it and like Googled a bunch of stuff and did some of my own research, because I was so intrigued and interested. One, to know like, was some of this stuff true? Two, like what actually did happen, and like what have we learned since then, and all that. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what emerges from that text and what makes me want to continue to learn more about Asian history and Asian culture. So those are the books that I have chosen for the month of April. As always, they are subject to change. Lately I have been having a hard time finishing the books that I have set out to read for the month. So like this last month and continuing through April, I've been reading Middlemarch by George Eliot as part of a buddy read, and that I'm not blaming that at all. It took up a lot more time than I thought, because the goal is to read about 100 pages per week, and the text is so small. Hold on, let me get it and show you what I mean. Okay, so this is the book, and then I'm halfway through at this point, and just look at how small the text is. Look at the margins, they're so tiny. So that, I think, is what has been slowing me down a little bit, is just seeing like that amount of text on a page is kind of overwhelming. So that, I think, has like made me more tired and not want to read some of the other books that I had planned out. It is interesting. There is a lot of detail for sure. So I will be finishing that this month, and that, not just because of how small the text is or whatever. I do find value in that goal setting when it comes to larger text. So I told my friend I've been taking forever reading Written in My Own Heart's Blood by Diana Gabaldon, and she just finished writing her 9th book, Tell All the Bees I've Gone Home, or something like that. I can't remember the exact title, but she just finished writing it, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to catch up for sure. So I'm about a third of the way through that book, so maybe once I'm done with this one, I will do the 100 pages per week kind of style, and maybe that'll help get me over the hump of like attempting to read like heavier, thicker, comprehensive texts. So yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I've read all the books up to this point. Like, what is stopping me from finishing this? I don't know, I feel like I do that a lot. Like, once I'm getting close to the end of a book, it kind of slows down a bit. Maybe because I just don't want it to end, or like, I don't know, the anticipation is just too much. Who knows? But yeah, those, like I said, are the books I want to read. I also am going to be doing the London Bookshop Crawl Readathon. So this is going to be held through, I believe, Twitter and YouTube for that channel. And that has been like a celebration in London, England, where this year it was virtual. So the organizers of the event worked with a bunch of different bookstores in the area of London and did like videos and like did promos for each of the bookstores and what they had to offer with all their unique styles and like ways that they approach book selling. And it was amazing. Like, I'm hoping to visit, well, one, London in general, but two, when I go in August for a race that I'm running, to go to the different bookstores that were on the map that they created and like be able to check them out, even though it won't be the event itself. But anyway, the Readathon is about reading books that you would purchase during that crawl. So technically, like, I didn't participate in it, and like, I know it's silly, but international shipping is a lot. If I were to buy books from there, I'd rather go there myself, which that's also a lot of money, but like, while I'm already there, I will purchase some books at those stores. So I'm going to approach it as books that I have had on my TBR for a while, or I've just acquired in my own like collection. So that'll be held over Easter weekend. So that'll be April 2nd to the 5th. So this video I usually post, it's probably gonna be on April 1st on Thursday. So the readathon begins tomorrow on Friday through Easter Monday. So that will be a readathon I'll be participating in. And then I'll also be down in Florida. I'm so excited, in the middle of April-ish, and I'll be working some of the time, but other times I will be on the beach, reading on the sand, by the water. I'm so pumped. I will have had, knock on wood at that point, my vaccine, and just be ready. And like, this is not like a spring break, woo, like party and like crowd all the beach kind of things. This is like the northern panhandle part of Florida where not a lot of people are hanging out. Everybody else is like in South Florida. They can stay there, that's fine. So it's like relax, take some time away from work, which, well, for a few of the days, which will be nice, and then just enjoy the sunshine and just being away for a little while. And I cannot wait. Anyway, I will leave it there. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below on some of the books you'll be reading this month, or ones that I have picked out that you have some thoughts on or think I might enjoy. I would appreciate that. I have my coffee and my wish list listed below if you want to support me in a different kind of way. I received a few books this past week and a half through a Random Acts of Kindness kind of Instagram thread that I participated in. So that was super amazing and very thoughtful. So thank you to all those who participated in that. But anyway, I am going to go back to some reading. I'll probably head outside for a little bit, but I hope you have a great day and happy reading.